Hello everybody, Justin with Lucky 8 Off-Road, and today I'm going to do a install of our Proud Rhino Rock Sliders right here on this beautiful V8 110. It's a pretty straightforward job. We have the instructions online, so between this video and the instructions, I think you're going to be in good hands. I'm going to keep drooling over this car. You guys grab a beer, and then we'll meet back in a couple seconds and I'll get to work. Welcome back. The first thing to do is pick up the truck. If you're doing this in the driveway, you can drive up on a set of plastic ramps. I utilize them later in the video, but I'm here in the shop, so up in the air it goes. Hyperspeed. Well, that was an easy way to pick up an extra $120,000. All right, that was a horrible joke, but I went with it. Next thing to do is get under the car here and remove the fiberboard portion of the skid plate and get basically everything that's going to interfere with the rock slider install out of the way. I'll bring the camera in so you guys can see what I'm pulling apart, and we'll keep moving this project forward. Under the truck, you'll notice there's a ton of bolts holding on these little fiber guards. It's to help with fuel efficiency and protect some of the softer bits over here. We're going to need to pull these fiber boards down. We're going to have to pull a portion of the skid plate off, and I show that in our online instructions pretty good. It's really not much else to say. It's more of get to work. If you've got a speed ratchet, that's going to be your best friend. If you're doing this by hand, you better get a carpal tunnel doctor. Cue hyperspeed. All the 10mm head bolts loose. I'm going to show you a couple things that I've learned over time to make the job easier. Back here on the mud flap, there's some bolts. Got to change to an 8mm on the other side of the mud flap, and then I'm going to move up front to the skid plate. So I'm going to just grab the camera and walk you through it that way. Coming in from the back right here, this and this, those are 8mm. They're holding the fiber board on at the end. And everybody always forgets these two right here that are on this silly little mud flappy thing. Same going on for the other side. You're gonna want to pull those off. All right, it's gonna be hard to see up front here, but this first section of skid plate needs to come down. You don't have to remove the front, just up to this little seam here. You'll notice there's two straight blade screwdriver screws that are holding on the front of it. I take everything out, leave those two, and then I leave one of these loose. Go back to the front two over there, the black ones, and then the plate will just slide forward. I'll get the plate off and then I can show you some other tricks. Sorry, I slowed down. What did my buddy do to this? Oh boy. With the skid plate off, you're going to notice there's a few more of these 10mm socket head bolts in place. We're going to pull those down and it'll release this front fiber section. But there's a few other little things holding this front piece in, and I'll show you those. So come take a look. In each one of the wheel wells, you're going to see these little pop plastic rivet things. You get under the corner, you bring it out, and then you can pull the whole unit forward. There's two on each side. You have to get rid of those. And then we're going to move down to the plastic trim piece. And there's, of course, bolts underneath that we got to get to. Next up is the plastic sill trim. We're gonna need to release a bunch of clips underneath it. Here's what the clip looks like. It's pushed in like so on the car. I get under with my tool, bring down the first layer of plastic, and then I get under the main one and pop it out. I've done it with a screwdriver, but if you've got one of these fork tools, it's way easier. Hyperspeed. With all the plastic pop rivets out of the way, it's time to bring the car down and pull the trim off. All right, guys, pay attention to this one. This is one of those tips and tricks that you are watching this video for. The next piece to come off are these little side sill trim finisher, under fender, God knows what it's, and they're just plastic glued together. These are the two magic clips that help hold it to the top. And what you can't see here is a bunch of little ones that explode as soon as you try to pull it off. That's normal, and we include extras in the kit. You want to reach under like this and not only grab the first layer of plastic, which is what most people do, and as they pull, they rip the guts off, and then you got to buy another one of these, and they're like 150 bucks. So you want to get your hand under there and get this layer of plastic and the layer behind it right here and start to pull back. You'll hear the pop of those plastic one-time use clips letting go, and then we're going to kind of wiggle the main ones out. I'll bring the camera in close. You can watch me do it. And again, pay attention to this. You don't want to break the glue on this, or else you got to buy another one. Moving along, next step is to pull the lower plastic trim sill free of the door. You've got all the plastic little pop rivets on the bottom out, and now what I like to do is open the door, give it a tug, bunch more of those one-time use clips, make a popping sound, and then we gently remove the lower trim piece. I'll get to it. Hyperspeed. Wait, no hyperspeed yet. We've got another tip for you. This plastic piece, which I don't know if you can see in the video, needs to get pulled free a little bit at the bottom. So I get my hand in there, boom. It's one of those clips. We want to pop that free. Now I can reach under, start pulling this plastic molding out like so. There you go. And behind here is another plastic clip. I get my fingers in there, snap it out. This is free. Job done. Do the same thing on the other side. And before you close the doors, make sure you realign the plastic trim pieces. The upper clip should hold it in. If not, you may need to get another plastic clip for that. I'm gonna pick this up, get it back in the air, and we're going for round 2 on all the extra bolts underneath. Back under the car, we're gonna start to pull down all of this fiberboard. First thing we're gonna do is get the sides. I'm sure you forgot a couple of little bolts or clips, and I know that you've messed up and forgot a couple of the mud flap ones. Happens to everybody, so we're gonna go through, see what was missed, start to pull these down, get them out of the way, then move to the front and get that felt out of the way. Hyperspeed. Question we get here all the time is, what do I do with the fiberboards? You could, in theory, cut them up and kind of tuck them into the rock sliders. I know a handful of people that have done that, but here's an example of a car with only a few thousand miles, and it's already starting to collect a bunch of dirt and stones and God knows what. I've seen it with grass growing on the inside of it, mold. It all depends on your environment. So my suggestion is toss them. Now back under the car. Next up is to get rid of these metal plates. I like to get rid of these little hangers here that were for the fiberboard. It's one that runs along the gas tank, same on the other side. And you've got to get all of these bolts out. And there's one in here, right here, that's not being held on or not holding on any metal brackets. You want to get that out of the way or else it'll hit the rock slider. Up front, there's two different size ones. That's a 10, I think that's a 15 off of memory. You got to get that loose, that out, so you can slide this bracket out of the way. And then you put that bolt back in. Over here, that's the 10, the other one's the 13. So that 10 comes out, 15 comes out, so you can get rid of the bracket. And I don't know why the bolts are different sizes. Again, all the way down. We do not take that out. We leave the air compressor mount. That's important. You're going to want to keep that. And again, that bolt here. And lastly, pay attention to this. It's going to make your life easier. Back here, and it's in the instructions, you're going to want to take that bolt out and get it out of your way, because when we go to put the rock sliders in, there's a little spacer that needs to go here first. So you set that on top of the rock slider and put it up. So you want to pull that on each side. I'm going to get to work. Here's another little tip. Be sure to put back the heat shield bolts in these brackets. If you have them, each model's got a little different heat shield, so it'll rattle if you don't. Little tip. The number one question we get is, does this skid plate go back on? And the answer is yes. Put one of the bolts back in, slide it in like so, get the two black screws, screw those in, and then anywhere there's a bolt location, I put in a bolt. Boom, part one is done. Got all of that off the truck, out of the way. Next step is I'm going to bring it down to the ground, drive it up on 4 car ramps, put the car in high mode, give me plenty of room to slide under there on a little creeper, give my belly some room so I don't hit it on the exhaust, and I'll show you how to get the sliders on the truck. Things are moving along. With the car up on the ramps, you want to position the slider underneath it. There is a left and a right, and they are marked. We've got the advantage of the lift. I'm going to use the lift to pick up the slider to the car where I need it. If you don't have a lift, I recommend just a normal car jack, especially the good ones with the 4 wheels. If you have 2 of those, you can slide it under and lift it up. Otherwise, you're going to need some very strong friends. Get under the car and bench press it. I have done that with a couple of people. It's not fun. Get some jacks or a lift. I'm gonna get to work. With the sliders in place, go into your hardware kit, get this aluminum spacer. We're gonna put that on the rear of the slider first. We're gonna take one of the bolts, the longer bolts, the 13 mil heads that you pulled out of the little metal armor. We're going to reuse that. Again, all of this is in the instructions, and I'm going to use this in the back. I find that's the easiest one to align first. Spacer, bolt, and align. Move to the front, same bolt, and align the front to it. under the car here, it's a little difficult to see, but there's the stanchion. The bolt goes in the stanchion, and it goes into that location we discussed earlier that I said take out. And the spacer sits on top. We're going to tighten that down about what I have here, leaving it loose so you can adjust it. And then we're going to go to the front. Okay, up in the front, you're going to want to bolt it right next to those rear AC lines. There's the bolt goes in. Hey, no spacer in the front. It's only needed for the rear. We're going to leave them loose like it's shown. We have to then get the bolts down the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I get them all in loose, and once everything's in place, tighten them all up. Okay guys, we're getting really close to being done with part 2. The slider is installed, the 2 main body points, and then the 5 outer bolts. In the center, we have a reinforcement rail. This is what it looks like. So we're gonna tuck that behind and then align it with the holes up here. You're gonna wanna take 2 of the shorter bolts that you've pulled out in this area. There's multiple holes. You wanna find which ones align to your vehicle, like so. All right, there is a gap, and as I tighten this down, it's going to pull the slider up. That is normal. We wanted tension on this at all times. Bingo. Next up, we're going to use the included hardware and tighten down on those bolts. I also like to just hand tighten these, make sure they're good. And it's time to move to the next step. Okay, we are in the home stretch, part 3, the last part. If you're tired and you want to stop at this point, you're more than capable to drive around with these rock sliders on it. They're not going anywhere. This trim piece is just that. It's aesthetic only. And then the inner sill also. So if you want to take a break, come back at it next weekend. It's a perfect time to do it. I am going to finish the job, so you might as well keep watching me work. The next thing up to do is to put our little metal bracket here that holds the under fender trim jobby thing. And to do that, I'm going to pop out these plastic rivets. I'll bring the camera in so you can see how I install the hardware. Like I've said many times, all the instructions are online, but it's always nice to watch it get done. With the lower bracket installed, I leave it a little bit loose and try to get the panel in place, make sure everything's going to line up. You can see that this is a little bit high, so I'm going to bring that down a tiny bit. I'll tighten it all back down once it's in the exact spot. I'll put the one-time use clips in place and snap it in. With the plastic trim piece in place, it's time to move on to the door sills. But here's a little tip and trick. I've done a few hundred of these, and in order to get this panel to sit perfect, I like to put a screw inside the little plastic holder. I'll show you that on the inside and some other tips that I've got about really fine tuning that metal plate. All depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. So I'll bring the camera and have a look. This is behind the sill trim, and there's that metal bracket that we just installed. Now you can see that this clip is close, but it doesn't want to catch. And when I do that, it's kind of twisting the, whoa, that was an earthquake. Twisting the plastic trim piece. So I can space that out right there and bring this metal bracket forward with some washers. That'll eat up the distance a little bit and it'll clip in. But I find that on off-road trucks, you want a little bit of movement on these so the tire or obstacles don't just rip them right off. So I've gone to drilling a hole right here and screwing in a self-tapping screw or just any metal screw that you've got sitting around. I'm using an aluminum one, but you can pretty much use a drywall screw if you've got that. And that'll hold that in place so it won't come out too far, but it'll allow the bracket to move in and out. So there's a couple of ways to get those to sit just perfect for you. I'm gonna go ahead and put the screw in so you guys can watch that. Next up, we are going to take this little fender liner, fold it in, and put a self-tapping screw into that aluminum, hopefully you can see it, that aluminum bracket right here. That'll hold the fender liner out of the way and won't be able to rub up against your tire. All set. Finally, the last step, installing the sill trim plates. I'm gonna show you a little tip to go from the rear. That first little rivet hole needs to be about 8 inches. We're confirming on the car. And then I'm gonna get the sill. It has a bend in it. You want the bend to be like that. That's gonna be the outside. It steps up to sit around the slider. And what do we got here? I'm pretty good with this tape measure. All right, here we go. 8 inches. I know this is the driver's side sill. I'm gonna mark it, set it aside. With the correct sill determined, I'm going to pop out all the rivets. I'm gonna measure from the sill to find exactly which one of those holes I need to drill out. I'm gonna drill them out and put in the rivets. If you don't have one of those rivet guns, I recommend getting it on Amazon. They're not all that expensive, and if you're taking to a shop, I'm sure they have one. Hyperspeed. Just want to confirm, it is indeed a 3/8 drill bit. With all the riv nuts, and I called them rivets earlier, but you would need a riv nut tool. With all the riv nuts installed, it's time to slide the sill trim in. The back tire, if you're doing it by yourself, I recommend jacking the truck up, chalking everything off, double safety, and you'll have an easier path of sliding the sill in. I'm gonna get some help from one of the teammates. They'll help me slide this in, and I can kind of flex it around the tire. That's the fastest, easiest way. So if you got a friend, time to bring them over to help you with this. Hyperspeed. there you have it. Tighten down the Allen heads on the sills and the job is done. Hope you found this video somewhat informative, and get out there and teach some rocks a lesson. I'll see you guys in the next one.